Source.
All right, 3 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. This morning on the news, we had this story. Golf fanatics called it the most wonderful time of the year. And there's a nostalgic twist this time. Tiger Woods is once again a favorite to win at Augusta National as the Masters teed off yesterday. We're all fascinated for some reason with Tiger Woods. I always wonder about it, actually. It's one of those things where, if you're standing on a basketball court and you're trying to throw a ball into that hoop, you sort of kind of know, okay, I got to get from here to there and get it in. Or if you hit with a baseball, I got to hit it across that fence. It's a big old target, right? There's a fence. I got to get over that fence, right? The golf is a mystery to me. I mean, the hole is so far away, and you're trying to get it in that hole in like three shots. For 3 shots, I'm going to get it into that hole. And there are people who do it, Tiger Woods being one of them, of course. And so we have a book simply called Tiger Woods. It is a biography. It's written by our guest, Jeff Benedict. He is a special features writer for Sports Illustrated. He's a New York Times bestselling author, and he wrote the book. There was another author on the book, Armin Ketian. I'm probably mispronouncing his name. Jeff Benedict, thank you for being on the air and for having an easy-to-pronounce name. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Are you outside somewhere?
I'm standing outside my house.
Oh, okay. I hear the wind. Where are you? Where do you live?
Well, I live in Connecticut, but today I'm on a farm in Virginia.
Okay. Is there any way you can get someplace where it's not so windy?
Let me see if I can.
I don't know if you can tell, but it's really hard to hear.
No, you're loud and clear to me, but let me see.
I don't have wind here. It sounds like I'm talking to somebody in the desert.
You might not have a signal inside the place. That happens sometimes.
Well, that's why I stepped outside.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we need a windscreen. There, that's not whatever you did.
There you go. That sounds better.
Whatever you did makes it
Is that better?
Yeah. Did you put your hoodie up? You got your hoodie going?
No, I just started walking towards an area where there's blockage.
Oh, okay.
Hold on one more second.
Put so much work.
Okay.
All right. You put a lot of work into this book. Did you get to meet Tiger Woods in order to write the book?
Well, I didn't meet him in person. We made multiple attempts to talk to him, to interview him for the biography, naturally, but that wasn't something he wanted to participate in, and frankly, we weren't that surprised about that. Most times when you're doing biographies, you don't get to interview the subjects, and that's rare.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't diminish in any way from your ability to tell a comprehensive story about someone's life.
So are you attracted to his story for a specific reason?
Yeah. The big attraction was the fact that there are, if you think about him in terms of sports, never mind golf, but just sports in general, there's only a handful of people that are known throughout the world by one word. And Tiger's one of those people.
Yeah.
And if you think about who the other people are that are in that category, they're not athletes.
Jesus.
Elvis.
Cher.
Bono.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. There's no sport.
And so Tiger in our mind, was the biggest athlete in the world that we could look at. In places like America, we think of Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Tom Brady. But those athletes, as big as they are in the U.S., don't have the global appeal that Tiger Woods has.
That's interesting, yeah.
He's the guy that can get off an airplane basically in any continent on the planet, and everybody knows who he is.
Even Yogi Berra, you have to wonder, is he the bear or the bearer?
So that was the big attraction, to find a figure that has the kind of appeal that he has is so rare.
There's another interesting thing about his biography, too, and I didn't realize this, but he was on TV when he was a child.
Yeah, that's actually something that we probed pretty seriously, because we thought it was so strange that his father basically put him in front of the media when he was a toddler. He wasn't old enough to write his name. He hadn't started kindergarten yet, and yet he'd already been on TV in front of millions of people hitting golf balls.
Yeah.
It's just one of the more extraordinary aspects of his childhood story.
Okay, this is a sports question, I guess, but I mean, the age he was in that video, was he any better than other kids his age who may have also been going out with their dad to play golf?
Have you ever seen a 2-year-old who can hit a golf ball 50 yards? Is
that what he could do? Could he do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no human that I know of who's ever been able to do that.
Okay, so that's what. So that's how. So was his father a famous man?
Well, he became famous once his son became famous.
Okay.
But he was not famous at all until Tiger, established himself as a great golfer, which that was accomplished by the time he was a teenager. So long before he turned pro, Tiger was famous.
So tell me about how fame itself, fame as a condition, how does fame affect a person, specifically Tiger Woods? How did it affect him, change him, mold him into who he is today, or whatever?
Well, it changed him. I don't know, change is the right word, but it certainly affected him from the time he was a little boy. One of the things it did was it developed a disliking, I would say, for him in terms of his feelings towards the media. He was pushed in front of cameras and tape recorders and pens and pencils so often as a little boy that by the time he was a teenager, he really disliked the media. And that's something I think that has always been misunderstood about him, is that people looked at him like he's a jerk because he won't talk to the press. But if you think about the fact that he's been forced to talk to the press since he was 2, there's a reason why he doesn't want to talk to the press. And there's a reason why he wouldn't want to talk to a biographer, to be honest with you. And so I think that what his father did by trotting him out in front of cameras at such an early age was it instilled in him a disliking. He was never comfortable with that. He's an introvert by nature, so he's just the way he's built and wired. He doesn't really like to open himself up and talk to strangers, and there's probably nothing stranger for a child than talking to someone who's holding a camera on their shoulder.
Yeah.
Did he get ridiculed from other children because of his mixed race?
Well, there certainly was some of that, but I think that has been overstated by his dad. The fact is that Tiger lived a pretty, I'm going to say, sheltered life in the sense that his father experienced a fair amount of racism in his life. Tiger, I think, not so much, because he was really raised on golf courses and at country clubs, where he spent most of his time. When he wasn't in school, that's usually where he was. And as you know, those places are largely occupied by white people, and more specifically, white people with money.
Right.
And so Tiger spent most of his childhood and his teenage years either alone, practicing, or in the company of people who had much greater income than him and a bit of a different racial composition. So he really had a very sort of sheltered and unusual upbringing in that regard. He didn't have the exposure to racism that his father had, which was pretty significant when he was growing up in Kansas.
But, we always hear the news stories about Tiger's dad being very influential and instrumental, but Tiger did have a mom, too, and she sort of guided him in this direction also.
Yes, she did, and we pay a lot of attention to her in the book because we think that Coltita's influence has been significantly understated in terms of the narrative that's been told about Tiger up to this point. The fact is that her contribution, I think, is equally as strong as Earl's in terms of why Tiger is as superb of a golfer as he is, and also why he's had some of the, the personal attributes to his personality. Those definitely stem from her just as much as from Earl.
So when his dad died, it seems like that was coinciding with a decline in his playing. Is there a connection there?
I don't think that's true, actually. His play did not decline when his dad died, other than in the immediate 6 to 8 weeks after the death, which you'd expect. But it was after his dad died that he won, a couple of his most dramatic major championship victories were after his dad passed away.
Okay.
And if you look at his record in '07 and '08 and '09, he was just absolutely dominant. So I don't think it's fair to say that his play tapered off after his dad passed away.
I apologize for that. I got my notes from the golf guy on the weekend. The one thing I wanted to say that from the golf show on the weekend is that they were talking about the Masters today, or last weekend. They were talking about what's happening right today, and they're very optimistic about Tiger Woods now. Do you want to? Can you talk? Maybe help explain what happened in his life that changed him to the point where he's now able to make a comeback. The way they were talking, it was physically going to be impossible for him to have a comeback.
Well, if you consider that less than a year ago, he was found on the side of a road in Florida in the middle of the night, unconscious and slumped over the wheel while he's got his engine still running and 2 tires blown out. And he couldn't pass a simple sobriety test on the side of the road because he had 5 different drugs in his system, mainly for pain and for sleeplessness. But the combination of those drugs were an indication, I think, of just how bad he was doing at the time. And Tiger got to a point where he couldn't get out of bed or tie his shoes many days without assistance. And that was sort of, if you think about it, this all starts in 2009 when he crashes his car, and it triggers an infidelity scandal, which leads to sex addiction treatment, followed by a very public divorce. It's really just one nonstop train wreck for him. It's basically been a decade where his career has been derailed to a certain degree by things going on off the course.
Is this weekend the turnaround for him? Is he going to make a comeback now?
Well, he's made a comeback in the sense that at the beginning of this year he resurfaced, and for the first time in a long time he appears to have either eliminated or severely minimized his back pain. He's swinging with great mobility, and he looks healthier than he's looked in a long time. More importantly, he looks happier than he's looked in a long time. It seems that he's got control of his life in a lot of ways that are, pretty encouraging and inspiring. And so it would obviously be great for golf if he is able to start winning again, and it looks like he is poised to do that. But more importantly, I think it's great for him personally that he is where he is at 42 years old. So it's a great story. It's bigger than a sports story.
How attentive is he as a parent to his children? Are they on the back burner, or are they in the forefront with him?
I think that's fair to say that they're in the forefront. I mean, one of the things he's made a big effort to do lately is to devote time to them, and it's been, we report on that in the book. I mean, I don't know if you've gotten to that part in the book, but that's one of the more inspiring parts of the story of his life is toward the end, that relationship.
The book is doing really well. You got a hole in one. I'll use a little metaphor there. The book Tiger Woods is what it's called. Interesting. There is no title on the cover. It's just Tiger's face. That's kind of cool. Right now, it is #1 in the golf category, #1 in the golf category under biographies, and #2 in the sports and outdoors category. Number 338 overall. That's pretty good. You're doing really well. So can I ask you a question about something in the news today that may or may not be in the book, or maybe something leads up to it in the book? It is the taking under the wing of the firefighter from Boston, and forgive me for not knowing his name, but in the Masters, they were saying on the weekend show that he was taking this guy under his wing.
Who was taking him under his wing?
Tiger Woods was taking the firefighter golfer in the Masters. Do you know who I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. I thought,
Would Tiger Woods still be married if his parents didn't interfere in his relationship with the Dina?
Well, he was never married to Dina.
No, but I mean, it was like his love interest, like of his choosing, and weren't they instrumental in breaking them up? His parents.
Yeah, I think they were, but I mean, you're talking about a relationship that happened when he was in high school, so I'm not sure what the connection to that would be to him being still married today. I mean, I think the tragic thing there was just that it was a great, healthy, loving relationship between him and a girl that he met in high school, and it carried into college, and they were in love, and it's a relationship that got ended abruptly and somewhat brutally, and it was probably one of the better relationships Tiger's had with a female in his life.
when you do this much research on a person to write their biography, were you at the end of it all? I guess maybe at this point now, did you discover things that you were completely surprised by?
Yeah, lots of things, especially with respect to his childhood and his upbringing. I mean, I think that he's only 42, and so there's a half of his life, first 20 years, which were largely, there was little known about what happened in those 20 years. And so we spent an inordinate amount of time there because I think that's where, those are the formative years for him. So
For all of us.
Yeah, for all of us, exactly. And those are the answers to his greatness are found in those years, as are the explanations to some of the less fortunate things that have happened to him in his personal life can also be traced back to his childhood.
So if we can say that he is such a good player because he can focus, does that ability to focus so sharply seem to appear in other things in his life? Does he have other things he is great at but just doesn't make the news?
I think when you are the best in the world at one thing, it's hard to be really good at many other things. And I think he certainly demonstrated that he's got the athletic ability to be a great athlete in other sports. He's got the mental capacity and the smarts to do really well, probably in lots of other fields. He has leadership traits. Tiger Woods could probably be really good at just about anything he put his mind to. But
Yeah.
what he's chosen to put his mind to is a game that's hard to play and complicated, and that's what he's been doing his whole life. And so naturally a lot of other things, fall off a bit. And I don't say that in a pejorative way. I mean, whether you talk about Mozart or Shakespeare or, anybody you want to point to who was the best in the world at one thing, that's what we know him for. And then there's a lot of other things that they may not be able to pay as much attention to.
There was a story you had in there about this golf club company, and they sent like 4 or 5 different clubs to Tiger Woods to try out. And when asked what club he liked, he said that he liked the heaviest one. And then they were taken aback because they should have all been the same weight, and then it was revealed that one club was there was an accident with the glue, and it was like, he picked up on that. That was a pretty amusing story.
It was amazing and amusing because first of all, it's interesting that so much science and technology goes into something like constructing golf clubs, but basically he'd been sent a shipment of clubs just to feel and test and see how he liked them, and they were supposed to be identical. They were identical. And so when they asked him, how do you like them? He said, well, I prefer the heavier one. And they're saying, well, they're all the same. And he said, no, this one's a little bit heavier. And they said, well, no, they're not. And finally, the guy from Nike sent him back to the lab just to prove Tiger wrong. They sent him back to the lab so the technicians could weigh them and tell Tiger they were exactly the same weight. But when they weighed them, they discovered that the head on one of them, that they had like an extra dab of glue that they used when they put it together, and it changed the weight of that single club.
Wow!
By the difference of about 2 cotton balls.
Holy mackerel!
I love that story.
the fact that he could sense that just by holding it tells you how often he's had golf clubs in his hands.
Wow,
That is an amazing story.
How has he done regarding, like, I don't know, how do you say this, intellectual property rights? How do you apply that to a golfer? You know, when people want to attach their product to him, for example, a golf club, is he savvy with that kind of stuff, or does he let somebody else handle that the business end of what he does?
Well, he was the first athlete in the world to earn $1 billion, and he didn't earn that playing golf. He earned it in business and in marketing and in advertising because he's been affiliated with most of the biggest names in the business world, from American Express to Nike to Walt Disney to General Mills to Rolex to, General Motors, and on and on and on. And I think he's obviously very savvy. Sure, he's surrounded by smart lawyers and agents and everybody else, but Tiger's, he went to Stanford because he's smart. And he's been very smart in business and done. I can't think of an athlete that's done better than him on that front.
I'm so glad this is a positive book. I wasn't sure. I mean, quite often when we speak to somebody who's done a biography about a celebrity, and Tiger Woods is clearly a celebrity with one name, sports figures, we couldn't even think of another one. So I'm just so glad that you did this. So you're obviously a fan. Have you, as a fan, felt disappointed in any, maybe the dips? I'm not saying overall, because obviously you're very much a fan.
I'm not a fan. I've never been a golf fan. I've never played golf in my life.
You're a Tiger fan, though, no?
No. I wasn't a Tiger fan when I started the book. He's not someone whose career I followed or rooted for or anything else.
Oh, okay.
I just saw him as it's like, I don't know that Ron Chernow was a fan of Alexander Hamilton, but he wrote his biography. And I think it's more that when you're doing biographies, you're looking for humans that that you think are, that they're worthy of a 500-page book, and that there's enough people out there would want to read it. And that's what my whole approach to him was. That I wasn't a fan, but I will say that after working on the book, my view towards him has certainly evolved after spending 3 years on this. And so I'm rooting for him, like right now, I'm less concerned about what he does with golf than I am that I'm glad to see him mobile again and able to enjoy his children and seemingly happy. And after spending 3 years traipsing through his life, I wish him nothing but the best. I I want to see happiness, I guess. That's what I'm saying. Maybe
that's what I'm picking up on. I mean, if you're writing about Hamilton, obviously he's gone. You want somebody who's alive to still live their life. So, well, I guess I'm picking up on the fact that you seem to admire him. I do, too. And I'm not a golf fan either. I'm not a golfer. That's why I had to depend on other shows to get some ideas here on what to talk about.
Exactly.
But I'm going to tell you, I tell the listeners this all the time. My favorite books are biographies. I love.
I feel the same way. I love reading them, and sometimes when you get to the end of a book like Alexander Hamilton, you are in certain aspects a fan, meaning you like him. And we weren't trying to do that here. Like, we weren't trying to make readers like him or dislike him.
Gotcha, yeah.
We were just trying to help readers understand him more. And I think when you understand someone, sometimes even when they do things you don't personally like, you have at least you have some context for why those things happened, and maybe a little less judgmental, because we're all prone to be judgmental.
No, I love what you've done. I think when we read a biography that takes an honest look at a person's life, it doesn't sugarcoat it, nor does it try to demonize the person, but rather just tells the story as it is. We see the human condition, and we see that we are part of that also, and it helps us in some way. I don't know if I'm making much sense. I'm not a philosopher, really. I'm just a radio host. You have done such a great job. Thank you for being on the air with us, and please excuse the questions that seemed like we didn't know anything. Because
no, this is great. I appreciate the chance to do the interview. Thank you for having me on the air.
It's a wonderful book. You're getting really great reviews from people who do know Tiger Woods and who do know golf. For the listeners, I know we've got listeners who are probably cringing with some of my questions, but I apologize to you also. I have a gift for you. I've got the book.
Yeah.
So call me if you want the book. I have one copy to give away. The rest of us will have to go buy it. I did find it on Amazon. Jeff, do you have a website?
JeffBenedict.com.
All right, easy enough. Jeff, thank you for being on the air with us today.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
That was good stuff. All right, we will take a little break, and we'll be right back. This is WOCA.
Hey, Matt, I know Sunrise Automotive does auto stuff, but I need some tires for my truck. Can you recommend someone?
Yes, I can. We do that.
No, I mean, I need them installed and balanced and all that.
Yep, we do that.
Well, my son needed his windows tinted.
Yep, we do that.
I need my
too.
seat replaced.
Yep, we do that too.
I need a new roof line, and a new spoiler, and a new
Yep,
trunk.
we can even do that too.
Okay, I get it. I suppose you can also do a radio show too, huh?
Well, as a matter of fact, join me every Monday at 10 for auto repair with personal